Every sales leader has the aging workforce on the top of their brain. They have people who have been 20, 30, 40-year sales veterans that are moving towards retirement. And then they have the new workforce that's coming in. To bridge the gap, many people do have no idea on what to do. In today's episode, I talk with Matt, and he tells me about how he does team selling so that his experienced reps are working with junior reps and they're learning through, I call it osmosis. This is an amazing episode that you don't want to miss. So Matt, tell me how you started your career and how you got to where you are today.
Yep. No, I appreciate that. I got my start Northwest Ohio, really like many in sales environment, just kind of pounding pavement. Someone took a chance on wanting to get into sales, so I did that. Having a team background, always growing up on teams and being a part of it, being part of a bigger one felt like it was more of my calling. And so after kind of being that individual contributor role, I really looked to expand into managing people and sales. Someone took a chance on me to have that opportunity. I took that, spent a few years in a couple of different cities, and as time has gone on, I've grown some of that. So as my team and my responsibilities, and I found myself, managing a fantastic team today, and still managing team, and that's really what I've been doing for the last 15 years of my life.
So tell me about the person who took a chance on you. How did that transpire? Give them a shout out.
Yeah, no, for sure. We still talk today. We're both at different organizations, but she's just an outstanding person. Obviously, kind of a vision, I guess, and a mentor from a sales standpoint, but also as a coach. And you'd really have to ask her because I owe a lot. But she was willing. I kind of take some of the things that she did and try and apply it. She was willing to invest time. She was willing to invest, energy, travel, education, not just like the organization we're working for, but really the process of sales. I think that's ultimately what, made me better and allowed me to, succeed at the company we worked with together. And then as I've moved to, different companies as well.
And I think that the value of mentorship or investing in your people is not something that a lot of organizations do. I was recently sitting down with a VP of sales, and I was showing him data from his sales team evaluation. I'm like, okay, so these are the people that you have that are really in that lower tier, right?
Mhm.
And so we started walking through them, and as a leader, you're like, should I keep them or should I not? And the thing that I always say is, I ask the question, have you invested 100% of what this person needs to succeed? And if you can't say yes, then it's not on them, it's on you. So throughout your career, how have you found that investing in those low performers has really helped either upskill them or identify that they're not a good fit for the organization?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, ultimately, salespeople, I always feel like is somewhat like a customer, and the performance of our customers that we always measure salespeople on is, how are our customers performing? And so if I was being graded on my customers, which would be the sales team, and I've got to ask myself, if they're not performing, then they're not, you know, getting right attention from their salesperson, which in turn is me.
Yeah.
So I think that's step one, right? Is really looking yourself in the mirror. You gotta be honest with yourself. Do you have the right energy and the effort? Everybody's different. The hardest thing to manage, my opinion, is just expectations
Yeah.
because everyone's got different expectations. People have them of themselves. The organization have expectations of you, of the sales force, and so trying to balance and customers have expectations. So trying to manage that and balance that. Um, is something to is always evolving and always working. And then yeah, look, at some point you do have to feel um, there's two equations. There's a math equation that says, is this person the right fit?
Yeah.
Um, and you can really do that by the analytical information that we always have at our fingertips and the performance. Um, but I also think there's a cultural fit, and people have to you got to make sure you're giving everything, but you do have to have that in return. And I've always, one of the things, I think you asked the question of how do you do that? I try to be as transparent as possible. And that transparency starts truthfully from the time you interview them, to say, here's what you're going to get from me, and here's the expectation you're going to get from me. You should expect this from me every single day.
Tell us a little bit more. No, let me reframe that. Threw me off a little bit. Okay, so we've talked a lot about how you lead and how you are really investing in your team as well as what you've done throughout your career. But tell us a little bit more about your organization and how you serve your customers.
Yeah. So it's, the good news for us, we've got, I kind of look at, who do people want to do business with? Typically, it's someone that, has some stability and they're going to be around for a long time. You want to have a good reputation. You want to be able to know that in our world, we're in distribution, so supply chain is critical. So I want to know my supply chain is protected. So if you look at all those three things and you look at our organization at Millcraft, we've been around for 104 years. So from a stability standpoint, we've only grown versus retract. So if I wanted to do business with an organization, that would be one thing that I would look at. From a reputation standpoint, we have a good reputation. We've been around for a long time. That helps. Involved in industry advocacy, helping our customers grow, growing the amount of customers we have, going through some mergers and acquisitions. So that's another great avenue. And then we get really heavy into data and analytics, like anything, in today's day and age, but in distribution and from a supply chain protection standpoint, we got to make the best decisions we can based on all that information. And so we do that. And so you kind of roll all those things together. It should be a winning combination for our customers, for all the things that we can do, leverage technology, maintain our stability, and then obviously, most importantly, do the things that we say we're going to do. And we measure ourselves on that every single day.
So when you think about your industry over the past decade, we've gone through COVID, we've gone through government shutdowns,
Yeah.
we've gone through tariffs.
Yeah.
How have things really changed for you?
Well, I don't think change is always that uncommon. I mean, you could go all the way back. Again, we've been around for a long time. So think of Great Depressions, World Wars, all kinds of things, financial crisis. So I think there's always going to be change. Change can be disruptive, but it can present opportunities. And it's really important to know, one, so we try to go where we want to be where things are going, not necessarily where things are.
Yeah.
So we got to over prepare as much as possible and think through all those scenarios and, try not to get too high with highs and try not to get too low with lows, but maintain, stability, and to work our way through that. No one's going to be perfect. Again, I go back to transparency and working with our customers. And what I've also noticed that I feel is encouraging is now in a lot of conversations, in very early conversations with customers, is people are a little bit more open to share their information, a little bit more about their business, where maybe that would have taken a longer time to kind of get there and develop. But I think it's really just, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's just let's get to the point. We're all trying to work together and have a successful business and and grow. And in order for me to do that, I've got to share what we do and how we do it. And we provide the same thing back to have really a win-win scenario. I think that's one of the things that it's kind of gotten to and changed is people have gotten a little bit more open and transparent.
In the distribution industry, whether you're an electrical distributor, food distributor, anything in between, it is a hard job. Like it is one of the distribution reps are one of the hardest reps that I train because I typically am very focused on non-transactional selling, right? Really focusing on value. And the pushback I get often in distribution is there's so many different vendors. There's so many, I can't learn everything, Leslie. I have to respond to the RFPs when they come in. You know the excuses, right? And so I see a big smile on your face because it's very, they think very transactionally. So from your standpoint, you've been leading teams and developing people for 15 years, you mentioned. What are some of the characteristics that you look for in a salesperson that you're bringing onto your team?
Yeah. So I'd say I'd start right away. I'd start with resourcefulness. and just being resourceful, um, being able to, dig in and kind of try and figure something out first. I was, I think people generally feel that, both on the customer side and on my side, that someone's, has tried it and they've been resourceful, or they maybe found a solution, or they went above what maybe was asked and they went the next step further. I think just being relentless, a relentless pursuit, on just competing, not always looking at a starting line or the finish line, but just always being in pursuit, like always wanting to be better than your competition, always wanting to not necessarily be comfortable with status quo or where my business is, but what else can it be? So kind of that relentless pursuit, of just really trying to be excellent and be great in whatever it is they want to do. That's probably the thing. And then, then there's hard skills, and being able to follow up and follow through and do it in the right time and the right amount of time. So, but whether it's distribution or manufacturing or anything else, you start with those first two characteristics. You get somebody that wants to win, they're relentless about winning, and they're resourceful. They'll find, that's that. If you can get that, I think you've got a winning person.
It's the mindset and the skill set. So often people are looking for these strong skill sets and they don't really focus on the mindset work that has to go into it. But if you don't want to sell, or if you don't believe in yourself, or if you don't handle rejection well, it doesn't matter how well you ask discovery questions or how many people you'll call, because as soon as somebody says no, you're all done.
Yeah, you can't sell what you haven't bought yourself. Mhm.
Yes, yes, it's so, and so, people don't realize like how believing in the product or the service or the thing that you're selling is so important. And one of the things that I really like to help organizations do when they're onboarding people is I tell them your salespeople shouldn't just show up at your company and you put them on the phones on day 2 or 3. Let them go work in the warehouse. Let them go work at the counter. Let them go sit in finance. So like let them really understand the intricacies of what this world is like so they are better able to explain it to their customers. So when they say, I need this, the customer says, I need this in 2 days, you're like, well, if I give it to you in 2 days versus 5 days, I know Danny in the warehouse is probably gonna have to work extra time. And I know Danny has a five, like these things are processing in their brain. And I think that too often we don't think about how important that is.
Couldn't agree more. Totally right. Yeah.
So tell me, within your organization, different companies are set up differently. How is your sales team structured?
So yeah, I mean, we've got about 75 salespeople across the organization. I think everyone's a little bit unique, and even different regions and different markets will have different people, and they're set up. But um, we really don't get into territorial areas, so I'm not necessarily tied to a geography. We do a couple of different things. So we have people that really have specific skill sets, and distribution. You talked about it earlier. You're really looking for mind share, because you do have an incredible amount of SKUs, an incredible amount of products that are available to our customers, and to expect somebody to be good at all of them, is probably not realistic, and could be, detrimental to the customer. So we do have a couple of different things. I mean, we're very fortunate in our, long history to have people that have been doing it a long time, and our core business is where a lot of our salespeople are, and they focus on that segment and those products. And then what we've done over time is we've hired people with specific skills and specific experience in different segments, right? So they may come in and they may assist those direct sellers who have built those long relationships, to call together and make some, team sell activities. As industries change and kind of the end users change, then that can also create, opportunities where our customers in distribution, we can always evolve because we can always put different products on our shelves. And so we want to understand where they're going, because that will help us, get to that point. But that's kind of how we're structured. We really don't do it from a standpoint of, hey, you're responsible for this square and that square. You've got a, core business, and similar, most of the time those customers have similar profiles. So, someone might work in school systems or healthcare, automotive and that kind of thing. And so that can span different areas, but that's kind of how we structure ourselves. Yeah.
So that's a very different structure because I often hear, because again, distribution, it's like this dog eat dog world, right? It's because your vendors are selling direct to the customers, you're competing with other distributors, and a lot of times there's like infighting, right? And so I think my question for you is, how do you ensure that essentially your salespeople aren't competing against themselves,
Mhm.
since they have like more industry focused versus geographical
Yep.
focused?
Yeah. So I'm not going to say we're perfect, but we do, we try our best. So I think, look, I'd also got to give credit to the sales team that have also bought into that. And
Yeah.
I think that goes to them believing in the organization that they work for, which helps
Mm.
in turn sell. Because I think they understand what it took to get to 104 years, and I don't think there's many people on our team that doesn't want another 104 years, for the
Yeah.
organization to exist. So that's really important, and I would probably start there. Second part is, we really want to do what's best for our customers, and think of them as organizational customers. So we want them to believe in, we're always doing what's right for them, um, kind of thing. And then, sorry, I lost the second part of your question was, um, it, yeah, in their team, selling piece of it,
Yeah.
um, it, it's, again, it's about making the customer right, the organization right, but ultimately it helps them. I mean, think of distribution, like you said, it can come, if you're not diversifying what you sell as your customers diversify, somebody else will. And we can't be, just okay with what we have, but we should be relentless and be cognizant of what we don't. And that will always, be what we're chasing. So um, I think, all of our salespeople, and I know certainly the ones that, I have some responsibilities for, um, always looking to make their customers better and present new opportunities for their customers. Because their success is, is dependent on their customer success.
So talk to me more about this team selling. I think a lot of people try to do it,
Yeah.
but again, I feel like I'm bringing you all the problems.
Yeah.
But a
No.
lot of people try to
Yeah.
do it, but it doesn't work well because this person did more work than this person, and this person gets compensated more, or this person doesn't have the knowledge, but they're expected to do this. Like, so how do you guys make that work?
Yeah, I mean, we get it. We have specific reports that we run. So ultimately, we have different ways that we can measure an account. So if I was calling on you and you had a specific product that I wasn't very good at that I needed to leverage a specialist, and maybe I do turn it over to them, ultimately, because they got to take it from here. I'm out. I don't have that skill and I don't have that knowledge. But I have the relationship with you, and so it's important for us to, maintain that because at the end of the day, that typically is where the foundation is built. And we can't not be, we would be silly and kidding ourselves if we didn't think that relationship mattered. But I also don't have the time and energy to focus on 10,000 different SKUs. So we run different reports is ultimately how we do it. So if I were to have it, but Steve called on you and he was now taking it over, he may get credit, but ultimately the account that I have the relationship with gets recognized as well. And so at the end of the year, we just kind of have ways that we can look at that and be able to pull different types of reports and see what you've been doing and what your account has been doing and what Steve's been doing and what I've been doing and so on and so forth. So it's really just leveraging data and analytics.
So everybody feels like at the end of the year it all balances out.
I think
And that's
so.
why I really,
Yeah.
it seems like you've built a culture where everybody, like, they're not competing against themselves. They realize I'm helping this person, I'm helping that person, and we're helping the company. And I think a lot of times people are so focused on themselves, their quota, their commission, their bonus, and they don't realize like a win is a win for us. And this is the company that pays my bills. So let us win together. But it sounds like you've really worked on building that culture of accountability and working together.
Yeah, no, that's right. And don't forget a win for the customer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also what we try to keep in mind too, because again, maybe I didn't have that skill set, but my teammate did, and I hope that's a win-win win. Customer, salesperson, and the customer and the company. Excuse me.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like let's focus on the customer is the North Star, right? We are here to serve them.
Yep.
So what can we do as an organization to make sure that they are well served? And then it's about the company, and then it's about me. And I think when we remove that focus from, I call it quota breath, right? So when we remove that quota breath, I got to hit my number, I got to hit my number, I want to make this money, I got to make this commission, and we really focus on how, as an organization, we can serve this customer. Again, the person wins, the customer wins, and the company wins. And it's a win for everyone.
Right.
So you mentioned having people on your team that have been there for a really long time. And I know that a lot of people that have been in manufacturing and distribution, they're aging out. They probably have 10 years left or less. So what types of things are you guys doing to bring in that next generation and get them upskilled so you don't really have a gap in your workforce?
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I think it's something that everybody's facing, and that we're up against. So we do a couple of different things. I mean, certainly the team aspect, team selling helps. We've got reps in our organization now that are just coming up, that they can work with people that have been doing it a long time. And so as they look at their runway and where it's going, we can put them in, and they can jointly call on accounts together to try and gain some of that tribal knowledge that they've had for so long. We use a CRM system like many, so we try and have information captured. I mean, I do think there's power in information. There's power in data. And so we can look at trends. So a lot of our up and comers, we really invest heavily there, and show them the tools of, they may not have a 30-year relationship with a customer, but we can look at their historical purchases, their trends, where they are, where they're going, the conversations that they've had in the past, and we can review all of those things with them and how that helps them gain credibility, and start to earn some of the trust with our customers. You talked about the culture earlier. We do obviously try and have an environment where we create an organization that, family being one of our core values. And we could say it, but we've got to act it. And we've transitioned to new onboarding programs to put people together, and have them train, and have some allies even in different regions. We've had mentorship programs where we've established, people have mentors with inside of the organization, not just outside, but so they can establish that. So, really different ways to help them. We lean on our suppliers, to help with just information. But again, I think I mentioned, like, everyone is going through this, and I would also say our customers are going through this. And one of the things that I have found is we continue to talk. Our customers know a lot of our reps when they, may be retiring or where that runway is, but they couldn't be more excited when they see the next generation coming in. And they know that there's an information gap, but I think if you're open and honest and transparent about that, they are more than willing to help. And they are more than willing, especially if that person, again, go back to our trait of being resourceful and being relentless. If they show that effort, I can't tell you the amount of customers we have that just says, "Hey, come shadow here. Come work here for a couple of days. You'll learn plenty. We're happy to help them along the way. And by the way, I'm looking for people, and I may need them to, go and work for you guys." And so I think that happens a lot. I think people are excited about that. It's that, people getting into the industry that has been, you know, a great one for so long to so many. And so being, looking forward to the next wave that comes in and maintains it is honestly something I think people get really excited about. I think it just takes time, energy, effort, and a relentless pursuit to want to be good.
That's so good. And I think it sounds like you guys are really on the forefront. Like I feel like I've been preaching this team selling thing for a long time. I'm like every senior person needs to be training their backfill. Like hire a sales trainee, hire a junior rep, have them shadow them, let them do their quotes. Like it cuz it takes 6, 12, 18, 24 months to get somebody to a place where they're producing.
Mhm.
And so if they're shadowing somebody who's done this for 25 years, like the osmosis of information that they get just by being in that person's vicinity, even if that salesperson doesn't really have, I call it the heart of a teacher, just being in their proximity, just seeing what they do, paying attention, listening to call after call after call, going to meeting after meeting, it really helps them to learn. And you don't have those huge gaps. So you don't have the lulls in the pipeline from year to year, or like 5 people are retiring. It's going to be a bad 2 years for us, right?
If we allow it to.
So if we allow it to.
Yeah, if we allow it to, we'll. No, you're spot on. Yeah, there's no question. Yeah, absolutely. That's something I mean, candidly, it keeps me up at night all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, just thinking about, I mean, and I know for a lot of organizations, it's Pareto's principle, the 80-20, like the 20% top performers, the 80% that are sometimes hit their numbers, sometimes don't hit their numbers. And so I think a constant thing, a constant conversation I'm always having with sales leaders is, how do I upskill them, right? It's like, how do I upskill the people who are at the bottom or the people who are in the middle of the pack? And I know one of the things that I always tell them is, I'm like, the lower performers, you have to really quickly assess in or out. It's the middle. That's where we should focus, the messy middle. If we can tweak one or two skill sets, we can get them up, and that's where you should really be focusing your attention on.
That's a great point.
So, when you think about your career, you've done many, many things. What is something that you would say was very challenging that you had to figure out a way to overcome on your own?
Um, I think so. There's been three times in my life that I've taken over for someone previously. I mean, but when you think about that, someone that you're in a leadership role, not necessarily an individual contributor role. So as a leadership role, you're coming in for someone that was leading before. Um, and I was, fortunate and also, to your point, challenge. They're in different cities. They were in different locations, and then two of them in different, industries altogether. So they all presented different opportunities, but I think figuring it out and learning who the people are, what needs to be done. Also taking a step back and just saying, okay, let me understand first, what's going on. When is it the right time to put in my influence, and what I truly feel, and how do I know that I've earned the right to express that? And that's also changed over time. I mean, first time I had to do it, I was in my mid 20s. How I would approach it now would probably be very different than how I approached it back then. But yeah, I think that's probably the most difficult thing, and from a challenging standpoint, rewarding standpoint, like I would assume most coaches and leaders that you interact with, it's my some of the people on my team and some of the things that they've been able to accomplish in their growth. Nothing cooler, more rewarding for them to think that something wasn't possible and to make it possible, and to have a small part of that will be things, those types of things I will always remember and think that that's 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 my responsibility, and I was able to achieve that for them.
So I think one of the most difficult things is taking over an existing team, especially if the team is not performing, because sometimes a leader steps out for a better opportunity. Their team is doing great, but sometimes they were asked to leave and you're taking over a team that is not anywhere close to hitting their numbers.
Yeah.
What types of things have you found have worked in a situation where you're taking over an existing team, whether they're performing or they're not performing?
Yeah. Uh, I think it's go back to core principles. I mean, they gotta get to know you, they gotta like you, and they gotta trust you. Um, so you gotta earn that first. So I always try and make sure that happens. But math is math. I don't think you have to hide from underperformance. You don't have to be ashamed of it. In my most recent time that I was talking about, I mean, we were very far off of goal. The next slide that I put up, I showed our goal and how far we were off plan. And the next slide I put was said good, because the reality is we know where we are and where we're off. I think that's great. So I know what I need to chase. If that's what I need to go close and that's what I got to figure out, now it's my job and my responsibility to say what are the opportunities that will help me get there. And that's as simple as that.
Yeah.
You know, how we got there, what happened, I can't change it because I wasn't here, but I know that okay, we're off by, 20%, and this is the number that would equal 20% growth, and here's the ways that we could do it, and let's go do that together. I think it's great. So I don't look at it as a, not a bad thing. I just think it is opportunity. Um, yeah.
That's really awesome. And I think it's don't beat the team up, but don't hide behind the bad number, right? Like we need to know this is where we are, but we're growing. I mean, there's only up from here. We really can't get lower than this, or we really won't get any worse,
Yeah.
right? And so here are the steps that we're going to take to get there. And I think putting it in front of a salesperson, a sales team, and saying, this is where we are and this is where we have to get to. Let's work together so we can achieve this.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, as we wrap up, I want to ask you if you had an opportunity to talk to young Matt, just getting started in field sales leadership, what would you tell him?
um, Trust your instincts. Always trust your instincts and your gut. Make good decisions based off good information. Um, and the hard things aren't that hard.
Hard things aren't that hard.
Hard things aren't that hard. When you really break them down, but no doubt, just be yourself. You can't if you start pretending to be somebody else, someone will see right through that. You got to be yourself, be authentic. You can still be firm and that kind of thing, but you got to be yourself because that's probably what got you to where you are, and hopefully it gets you to where you want to go. So be yourself, and be competitive and relentless, and make good information, and trust your instincts and your gut.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Trust yourself and be yourself.
Yeah.
I would sum up what you said in those a few phrases. Trust yourself and be yourself, because who you are is great. You're going to make mistakes, but keep going.
Yeah, no question.
This has been an amazing conversation, Matt. If people want to get in contact with you, what is the one best way?
Best way. I mean, look us up on millcraft.com, or you can email me, freedm@millcraft.com. So it's freedom without the O. But I'm on LinkedIn as well, so you can always find me on there, and happy to interact and chat and learn from other people and how they do it better. That's really what I'd love to know. So I'd love for someone to reach out and tell me a better way and a better strategy, because I want to be better than I am. I want to be better tomorrow than I am today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Matt. This has been a fantastic episode. You've given us lots of gems. I appreciate your time, your talent, and your expertise today.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Great day.